and it has been very tense so far. Both players trading wins with white and black. With one draw, Magnus signing there, walking back to his board. And we are ready. The casters are ready. The players are ready. London, make some noise if you are ready. They're ready, I promise. Maybe maybe they can't even hear us anymore. I have no idea.
We'll make sure they're ready. We'll check in on our lovely audience very shortly. But the players just getting back into the zone. That music, that white noise, whatever it is, going back on as the players lock in. It's going to be Alireza to serve first with white as we enter the second half of the 5+1 now.
I actually do think they might even turn off our microphones so the players can't hear, because sometimes we talk about the players and we don't want to say anything, and then they're like, what did he say about me? So Magnus is back, Firouzja's back as well.
You mean they don't want your BOGO Indian tips?
Well, he could have asked for them before the tournament, of course. I will be curious if he repeats it. He went back to a Queen's Gambit decline, then he outplayed Magnus in a full board Catalan game, which I said was going to be difficult. So you love it, David. It's exactly as you said, different structures, different openings, and Alireza maybe will go for e4 this game.
Will he at least check what Magnus has planned against e4? Will it be an e4, e5, and slow Spanish? No, it's back to the Queen's Gambit declined by transposition if Magnus had played d5, but no, it's a Queen's Indian this time, with the black bishop coming out, maybe fianchettoing, maybe come to a6. This is old stuff, very historic opening. And d5, a pawn sacrifice, and this one is based on the white bishop opening up on the diagonal, an undefended black bishop. Lots of theory here, Levy.
Lots of theory, but a very forcing line. And that will give Magnus a level of comfort. He's probably studied this, knows the type of position to get to. Second time in a row, we see him grabbing a pawn and running away from Alireza, right? Kind of like stealing a cookie. And then Alireza's got to prove that the pawn disadvantage is worth the positional play. What's interesting, and this is the difference between humans and computers, we live in a time now, everybody talking about AI and all this and the existential threats that it poses, and those are very legitimate. But in chess, AlphaZero literally refuted this opening as black. Like, this opening loses as black, essentially, at the engine level, but not at the human level, right, David?
Yeah, often white sacrifices 2, 3 pawns, maybe even a piece, plays for long-term compensation. But the likes of AlphaZero were looking 20, 30 moves into the future, or at least you need some deep concept to justify it. So Magnus is pretty much banking on the fact that Alireza will not be able to maintain the pressure in that type of position. But look at Magnus. He's trying to recall the theory. This is still well-known stuff. I believe one of the main moves is knight out to a6 to support the other knight, which in turn supports the central pawn. It's key not to break the central tension here. There's too much pressure along the d-file against this poorly placed knight. White is also threatening in some variations to play e5, bring the queen out quickly and go for a blitz attack against the black king.
That's how I used to play this with white. Like, if I didn't get a mate in 3 or 4 moves as a kid, I was maybe like a teenager, I wouldn't really know what to do, because being a pawn down in some of these positions is a bit stressful. But we do have bishop f4. Knight a6 is really not a move that you play unless you kind of understand the nuances and how the whole position ties together. But this feels very much, again, like Firouzja's style of game.
Exactly. He's sacrificed a couple of pawns in a couple of different openings, and Magnus does not look happy. Making a bit of a face there. What's he worried about? Is it this knight coming into d6 to hit the bishop? Is it pawn to e5, as we were talking about? Lots of choice for white.
But what did he expect? He played the Queen's Indian, right? And this is one of the most, it's probably the most emphatic way to meet this opening. In fact, it's been not played as much anymore with white because players with black can just memorize the lines. But you can't play into this without memorizing all the lines. He's going to be under a lot of pressure.
Exactly. And Magnus, we talk about his opening preparation, how he prepares on the golf course or just calling up his second. But yeah, I mean, he's not going to be sitting there for hours and hours memorizing stuff. He's now trying to work things out over the board, and it's cost him 1.5 minutes more than it has Alireza. This is a fantastic start to the game for white.
The bishop is hanging, by the way, on b7. So black has really no choice. You either have to defend it with the rook or with the queen. There are maybe some other tactics, like could you throw in bishop takes knight on c3 to destabilize the center? You wouldn't really want to do such a committal thing because then you would lose the piece near your king. But Magnus is thinking for a reason. He really just doesn't want to play a move like that.
Yeah, it feels ugly, right? He's now stared down at indirectly by the white bishop. The d5 pawn is going to be taken back at some point. Alireza is going to try and figure out the best conditions in which to do that. Maybe at some point he will take the bishop, trade everything off, recapture the pawn on d5, get the bishop pair. The black knight on a6 might be left a bit redundant on the edge of the board. But Levy, I think it's just the pure clock time, the nature of the position, reasons for optimism for Alireza here as he does trade off. And maybe he's just going to keep the tension, bring something into the center.
Yeah, because if he chops everything down, takes the bishop, takes the pawn on d5, everything gets traded. The rook actually will be standing one rank up and can swing to the right, exactly, after everything. And that's not really what Firouzja wants to go for. Plus, if everything clears out, the dark squared bishop of Magnus will be pointing down diagonally to the pawn on b2. Firouzja knows this. In fact, he's probably calculated literally everything already in about 2 seconds. Just does he want to go for that now, or can he make a move like rook to c1, bring the rook? Does he want to bring the queen out to a4 and replace the queen with the rook as well? Like, the position kind of flows like water. There is no rush here at all.
Exactly. I really like this move, rook c1, just improving a piece. I quite like rook to e1 at some point. I'm not sure which direction the queen goes, maybe this way often in this opening.
Or h5. I mean, well, h5 could run into g6, but yeah, just plant the queen, rook t1, exactly.
Time to attack. Alireza, how and when is the question? What's he thinking about? Long think now.
Also, knight b5. Like, you kind of don't want to leave the opponent's position. C or b5, yeah, like, it's hard. The pawn on a7's hanging. It's not so simple to make a move.
Yeah, utilizing a pin as well. Slightly awkward for black there.
But it definitely feels like you need another piece. Got everybody out. Principal chess. We teach beginners. Up the queen, connect the rooks. Slide the rooks left to right. Target c7. He takes on d5 immediately.
Oh, he was in calculation mode. He decides to simplify things here. The question is whether black has time to go and grab on b2. Feels very risky. That will cost 2 full tempi. The bishop will have to go back very shortly. White has fantastic central control levy. I don't think it's Magnus's style to go pawn grabbing. We saw his screen there. He wasn't hovering over the bishop.
Nope. And if bishop b2, by the way, you don't even attack it with the rook. A lot of people would think you counter. You probably play rook d1, because it's not just about the defense of the knight. It's also when the queen moves, let's say to b5, which is a straight-up fork, the knight can also move and then attack the queen. So Magnus, there is no chance he plays bishop takes b2.
Yeah, that would be an objective mistake, almost a blunder. But what else? Is it just getting this knight off the edge of the board? That would be what I want to play. But he's going to be sweating about the fate of his rook as well on this diagonal. Once Magnus defends his queen, gets his queen out of the way, there will be some knight jumps that might hurt.
It's interesting that everybody thinks with their hand on the mouse. Like, you don't have to, but that's our locked-in mode. You know, you don't, because this is how we think, you know, with our hands over our head. But he's ready. He plays knight c7, hits the queen. Now he can take on b2.
He really can. Depends where the queen goes. I think his idea is to play knight to e6 as well to hit the white bishop. Oh, the queen went back. g5 was possible there, by the way.
Knight f7!
Oh, Magnus has blundered. Knight to f7. That's going to be given a 2 question marks. Oh, sorry, 2 exclamation marks, surely. Bishop takes b8 threatened. Queen takes e6. Everything's hanging.
The point is that now you have to take with the king. You could take on f4 with the bishop. That would be a puzzle on chess.com, and then you would have to find the checkmate rather than taking the queen, although both are fine, obviously. And then you can't take with the rook because you would lose basically everything. So king takes f7. I think Magnus just thought he has sufficient defenses. What has Alireza seen, though?
Yeah, king takes would have walked into some nasty stuff there, maybe with rook to d1, and at some point the rook would come up to d7. Rook takes is played instead, arguing that white doesn't have time to go and take this rook on b8 because the black knight would have jumped to c5. Maybe we quickly show that, that tactic. Levy, so much chaos. Now we're going into an endgame where Alireza will be a pawn up, but it's going to be difficult to convert. If we quickly show this position, king takes would have lost on the spot apparently due to rook to d1, and the black queen would be overworked. If she slides, there would be some tactics, and after a check, the knight would drop off. Instead, as you mentioned, knight takes f4, beautiful smothered mate. I have to show it just for everyone at home. Another tactic hidden in the air. So rook takes f7, and bishop takes would have been a mistake due to the knight coming into the center, and the bishop would have fallen next move. If we catch up with the live position, white has an extra pawn after that tactic. It's
instructive. Alireza didn't rush with a queen trade, because if he trades the queens, then he has to win an endgame, and the only difference in the position is his pawn on f2. He has a pawn majority, but that's less ammunition than winning this, the white queen versus the black king. The black queen is like a piñata. Is that a thing here? I don't know what they call them. Those animals you hit at birthday parties and candy comes out. You know, well, give me a British candy. You know, but the queen here for white. Yes, there you go. Oh, I actually did a thing where I had to taste a bunch of British candies with Jolly.
Oh, nice.
Shout out Jolly. Shout out to those guys. Hope you guys watch their channel. But anyway, the queen on b3 here is a powerhouse. It's just like sniping the rook on f7 and the king on g8. Black is a move away from getting mated if he puts the queen on the wrong diagonal.
Exactly. A check would be deadly. Also, I think, Levy, good advice in general against Magnus is to not trade the queens.
Oh, yeah?
I think
My
endgames
guy. Oh, it's going to be the next time we play Magnus, he ain't getting no damn queen trades. You heard it here first.
And no endgames yet, at least for Magnus Carlsen to try and save. Rook c7 at some point is surely going to be painful. Maybe even now, unless Black has some nasty checks. Can White escape those? Because Rook c7 would win if Black doesn't have some kind of perpetual there.
Yeah, Rook c7 looks... And for the record, why? Yeah. Why don't you trade the queens against Magnus?
Oh, I think he just knows the type of endgames he can hold. I mean, having written this book with him and recorded this course on endgames, he can tell you exactly what positions, where it's 3 versus 2 on the king side, which piece configurations are winning, which are losing, where to put your pawns. He has worked it out all before. It is partly inspiration, but it's also a lot of study that's gone into it. And he has put the rook on c7. Black is totally immobilized here.
Queen c4?
Ooh, maybe some checks.
Yes, queen c4 would run into some serious problems. I guess you can run out to h3.
Yeah, I quite like that, actually.
that's okay.
Oh,
that was a miracle. I totally blundered it, but it turns out that running to h3 might just win the game.
Yeah, this is professional, though. No checks.
Yeah, no checks.
No moves.
There's nothing here.
Magnus has no time either. He looks like he's ready to click the resign button. Queen c4 is a winning move, maybe even now, to get that rook c8.
He sets it up, rook c8 with the skewer. He's doing the Hikaru faces. I mean, really, he's doing like he is very unhappy with himself.
Yeah, it's something that happens when you get to your 30s. You start making those faces.
Oh boy, I just turned 30, so.
Oh, it's all, it's all downhill from there. But no, bishop to e3 played instead. He wants to transpose into a queen king of pawn endgame, and there we go. Magnus resigns, sorry. Wow, Alireza taking it.
The slip, we're so